All right, folks, we are on probably one of my favorite. No, it's definitely one of my favorite. Might be my favorite map here in the Harper's Ferry map pack because it's not urban combat. It's redoubt. And here we're joining not the defenders, but the attackers, the attacking British here in the War of Right 1776 game mode. Of course, there's no artillery, which is too bad because, you know, this map generally has a lot of the hallmarks of maps I like, which tend to be artillery heavy, yet close in other ways. Now, this one may not meet that second criteria because this one, even when the Union played this one pretty tight, it seems like almost nothing they can do really allows them to win this map. I have not played it or seen it, though, since the ticket update went through. I don't know if the defenders got a buff on this one. You know, certainly one where the Union sometimes comes close, but it usually loses on redoubt. And so that part of it I'm not as thrilled about. But the map itself is kind of interesting. I think it is. And with all that artillery smashing in, it makes for a fun time. Yeah, I mean, the Brits here, now they've been on a winning streak. I mean, they got to attack on Shenandoah. They got to attack on Graveyard, which is sometimes a little iffy. They absolutely dominated on Graveyard. Just bullied the Americans right out of it and took it for their own. All right, the Americans look like they want to countercharge and put an end to this. But anyways, they were taking a bit of a risk. Okay, bringing the flags inside the fort. Now they've brought them outside the fort or the redoubt. Now they're right next to the exit, which is here. That's in exit. And then they can run it out of bounds, or they can run it that way. I don't know, man. A lot of Brits seem caught mid-reload. Now, I have just about everybody except for the officers muted, so it's probably hard to hear what they're saying. But it didn't seem that many Brits were aware. Very good flag work by, I would say, 3 out of the 4 flags. And the 4th might actually also do a good job running out of bounds. Right? Like, if you can't get it out, run it out of bounds so that at least you get it to respawn more quickly than if you drop it in the field. All right, that was some very nice marksmanship by the Americans up there. Oh, yeah, very nice. Yeah, not only did they shoot those flags down, but then they charged out, and they might keep the Brits from recovering those flags. Something I'm an advocate of. It hasn't caught on, but that probably has a number of reasons for it, including the low viewership on most of these videos, is that I think the Americans should camp these flags. Because if the Brits are unable to recover them, they can't spawn people on them until they despawn. It's a fairly long despawn time. I don't know if it's actually 5 minutes or just feels like it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's a little bit shorter than that. But that pretty much makes all of those units who don't have a flag combat ineffective. At least in long-term shootouts where they're taking casualties, they're always going to lose until they can get those flags back. These are actually nicely placed, and that you could have probably 3 Americans just sit in that bush, and maybe a couple provide some overwatch, hide in the brambles, something like that. So I guess these are not, obviously because artillery is not in... I guess those are just the kind of artifacts that are put in place. But anyways, those who don't have flags, you know, they gotta wait for people to come from spawn. And so unless the attackers are going to do a shootout from near spawn, which on this map is absolutely horrendous, you don't have Artie to lean on either as the attackers to at least whittle down the defenders' tickets. This is one of those maps where usually the defenders don't let an early cap go through. And, oh, does this guy, is he reading my mind? I mean, I don't know what the chances are that, well, you know, I probably do play like a level 1. So, yeah, maybe it does. But, I think it's worth investing a little bit of manpower and a lot of tickets to make those 2 units combat ineffective, particularly for the defenders. Because look, with the defenders, the black timer is your friend. And so, you know, if you remove 2 companies from active combat, what that means is that your other, you know, all 4 of your companies can concentrate against the 2 who have their flags. You're going to win that. And all you have to invest in this, is a small number of men who you trust to be able to keep them down, and then run when it gets to be too much, right? So that group was clearly a feint to draw the Americans away from their flags. They want to get their flags back. they want to try this attack again. This is almost always the attacking angle that wins it for the CSA, or might win it for the British. I don't know how this is going to go. And so the Americans or the Union, as the case may be, kind of have to adapt to it. But yeah, against those kind of numbers, you're not going to be able to deal with it with 3 guys. But that's why you have 3 guys there for the Rambo recovery, and then you have the rest of the unit that's supposed to flex up, shoot them down as they come in, and could have put those flags down probably for a couple more minutes. But as it was, given that most of the Brits had to come from spawn, it's only a small loss from the Americans. And on tickets, they are ahead of the Brits. So I don't know if this is the turning point in the Americans' losing streak. I think it's way too early to say that. The Brits here have actually very quickly recovered and got themselves back to a pretty advantageous position here on this part of the redoubt. Yeah. Well, probably because the flag was right up against it. Americans spawn back there if you're unfamiliar with the map. They don't have a flag to spawn on. But yeah, these guys have the right idea. You start creeping up. And so, yeah, the Brits look like they're down by about half a morale stage early on, but there's a ton of time on the black timer, right? Coming down to 34 minutes. And so the ticket burn rate from the Americans hasn't been terrible. I see a British unit making a really wide maneuver around the front of the fort, and that was a group that was back there below the brambles a few minutes ago. And we'll see where they set up. If they set up on the front side, or if they wrap around to the end of the fishhook down there. But you can see there's an American company with a green flag there. I don't know if they were waiting for it or not, but they are in the right place. I don't know if they're there with enough numbers. It doesn't look like there's that many Americans in that company, but at this distance, you can't really trust everything you see. I think the Brits are probably pretty well suited here to get a break on one place or the other. Either back here or on the front end. You can see that green flag. And the Americans pulling out, trying to rejoin the others. That means that the Brits broke through where that yellow flag is, and they're spawning people in. And they're now going to have a new angle to shoot at the Americans. And they'll probably pick up a bunch of out-of-formation guys. Probably kill a bunch of out-of-formation American guys. Wow. Wow, the Brits, they just deleted half a morale stage. Unless the timer, you know, the ticket reporter is seriously flawed. They just burned a ton of tickets from the Americans. So as I said, it's a little too early to predict an end of the suffering for the Americans. Americans are going to go back here. Probably, yeah, to come up here on the berm and try to get angles. They can go places that the Brits can't go and wouldn't want to. And they're going to try to change the angle and shoot down basically from right through this line here between the redoubt and the brambles and stuff in front. I mean, what it's really going to cause the Brits to do is to do exactly what you see now, is to have a couple guys turn and shoot down that line. The Brits may have their protractors out, and they may realize, you know, we had an American company. All right, so they're going to charge in. We'll see if the Brits, how many of them have loads. So far, the Americans are not getting closer. The first half dozen or so of those guys did not even make it to melee. Now, maybe the Americans can make it up on the back end as the Brits run out of loads. Americans respawn people. The Americans seem to be going in 2s and 3s. We can see the Americans here. They must have realized, hey, we're not getting shot at. So this is going to be a a fairly clean wipe. We'll see if the Americans can again. Nice. Well, it was almost nice flag work there by the Americans once more, trying to get the flags, or the Brits trying to get the flags out. You see the Americans are definitely hot in pursuit. They do a good job of dropping the flags. A little bit more challenging to kill them. I guess none of those Americans have loads. I doubt they're going to win the foot race, and if they do, they're going to win it very far off. So the Brits are... Oh! Well, somebody had the load, and the guy who's chasing him isn't... Oh, maybe he did catch up. Maybe the other guy stopped running. We'll never know. That's 3 British flags down. So again, now the Americans with all 4 flags are going to have this group eventually outnumbered. And so while this green flag unit here is going to try to distract them, I suspect the rest are going to come around. They're just going to follow this around. The Brits seem to have absolutely no idea what is going on. The yellow flag is kind of near the exit. You got to know where your exit points are in the brambles. It looks like he's kind of preloading there to run. The other way you would be able to tell is, like, if you're new to the game and you're hitting T and you see there are 3 friendly flags down. Now your officer should already know it's time to run, but you as flag bearer or a thinking person needs to realize that means 3 of your friendly units are effectively out of combat. The enemy is going to realize that, and they're going to probably concentrate against us. We're not going to win the ticket trade, almost certainly, and we may well lose our flag.
Shoot the flag. Shoot it. What are you waiting for?
Oh, and they got him. So if the Americans wanted to, they could try to camp all 4 flags, just stand out here in the field and just mow the Brits down as they come in. Otherwise, it was a lot of good pursuit and initial action for relatively, yikes, little gain. Yeah, again, you're not going to be able to do it in 1s and 2s. You need, like, companies out here who are just shooting the Brits as they move in and then respawning. And again, you play the numbers game. I mean, these 3 over here, right, it keeps 3 out, but these flags have also been down the longest, and so that means they're going to respawn the soonest. The soonest? They're going to respawn the most quickly, and so camping them doesn't matter as much. You could sit on the one over there. It's kind of right in front of the redoubt. And at least for the Americans, maybe they're going to get back and camp that flag, which I believe fell first. But the Brits have been getting off very easy here. Although they've kind of had some flag disasters because the Americans haven't capitalized on it, on camping those flags when they're down. The Brits are able to get back into this fight sooner than they should. So lucky them. Can't tell if the Brits are going to make a push for that 4th down flag. And again, if you're the Americans here, try to make this a quick fight. You got to be able to count that they have 2 down flags at the moment. You can try to make quick work of them, drop those flags again, and let the timer reset. But you see there, the Brits, they got up that flag. So now the Brits are only down 1 flag. This is a far better shootout, and the Americans might go taking losses before the Brits. Yikes. You see that yellow flag British group is coming back around. Maybe they're going to hit the bottom of the fishhook reed. Maybe they won't. Alright, Brits technically go first, but they have made up a lot of ground from how this battle started. And I would say that well, we'll see. We will see how things go. Yeah, we'll see. That's what I've got. But I think the Brits have got to be favored. Even though the Americans still haven't gone taking losses, like this should. Okay, there. Of course, I had to say it. Okay, Brits are good and healthy on that side. Looks like the Americans are trying to concentrate against that yellow flagged group who's now gone to the very edge there of the fishhook. Maybe they're going to pull it back to those rocks. Problem is that if you can't hold there, it's, you know, it's a lot of open field you got to make it through. Americans just standing 3 flags down. The Brits may have to realize that they need to push right now on this side to try to delete these groups and then turn their attention to what's going on over here. Brits are still doing pretty decent flag work. Again, who knows whether they'll get shot or not. I don't know if the Americans know that they need to get it out.
Alright, form up over here.
Alright, but that at least allow them... Okay, so the nope, that yellow flag is going to get out. And now, with no one there, well, actually, just a number of out-of-formation deaths, the Brits are going to push up, and it looks like they're bringing a 3rd flag over to this flank. So the Americans need to communicate in chat or otherwise that those companies down there, are needed up here. Alright, so some Americans are going to try to make their way down from up top. Those Americans look like they're going to the wrong destination. They do not have their protractors out. I don't know who those companies are fighting. The Americans here, good thing they're thick, and, you know, they seem to be making the most of their independent fire, greeting the Brits as they came up. And second American company is now lodged just above these two companies. Americans really don't need to be peeking up. British wisely, well, they're trying to pull their flags out, and man, they have some really understrength companies that are trying to go up to this berm. You know, maybe it'll work. Yeah, this company did a great job though, holding here on this angle and just dumping that bucking ball into the British as they kind of got stuck up there. But yeah, maybe the green and the red flagged groups down there are just so small that they need to 2v1 this group here. For the American side, if they realize it, they need to start moving up and trailing that flag, because 3 flags for the Brits versus 1 for the Americans there in that corner, the Brits will win that attrition fight. Yeah. This is probably the one that matters more. The Brits are going to take the flags in. I wonder if their officers ordered that, or if that's... Oh, well... maybe they want to stop just short of going in, but... I guess they want to try to get the low ground and embed themselves in those little carve-outs there in the redoubt. Americans are pushing up in part here. I really don't know. Americans are spending so much time watching that group run. My goodness, officer, did you not just turn around and see this? Have you been playing British and you just don't recognize it as an enemy? Alright, so the oh, okay. The green flag group is going to be the one that makes the longer run up. Alright. Those Americans are going to use that volley to knock that group out. If they can, that American group would probably do well to come around this backside. All right, and some Americans are waiting for them. They know the front door. Or actually, I guess that was kind of the back door. I don't know how the analogy works. But yeah, that caused the flag to have to run in front of the Americans. And now, the last shoe to drop should be the yellow flagged group. That's how it should work. And the Americans, again, since they haven't really devoted resources to camping these flags before, I doubt they will. Again, one company here would be fine, and then take the other 3 to deal with this. And you have some time to do that, but just, you know, don't let those flags get up. Win the respawn race. I think the group that was playing, yeah, I think whichever group that was, I think it was the Grug's group. I think they would be fine to stand off those Hessians and cover those 2 flags, and then let the other 3 American flags try to work the angles on the Brits here. I mean, the Americans are doing it one way. The other way is to just go up and over the berm, kind of down where I'm looking, and then just shoot down the berm this way. If you were able to put 3 companies against this one, the Brits can't deal with all of it. Right? They can either deal with the people in the field. Up. The Americans are going to go for the open field angle. I mean, it gives them the least amount of running. It's in some ways the most conservative, because if you lose the flag, friendlies should be able to get it. That's pretty good volley. Pretty good volley and some good follow-on shots. Serves me right for recently observing that it seemed like the British were winning a lot of the long-range shootouts. I don't know if this is really a long-range shootout. It was a long-range one on Cox's push, where maybe it was just the maps that had been rolled that were leading me to think that. Yeah, this group is almost done. Let's see. All right, I guess it's on the level 48 to tell everybody it's time to run. I don't see too many of them. I don't think so. So the Brits have gone breaking. They've done the thing. And the Reapers company is doing a great job of covering these 2 flags. I don't know if they're supposed to. Of course. Are they going to run off? Yeah, they're going to run off now. Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, they were doing a great job of that. The Americans threw 2 companies, I guess, at that group, and wiped it. So that's fine. The Hessians, oh, it's not just Hessians. It's Hessians and the Redcoats are making the most they can out of loose formation. I would bet the Brits want to get these flags back. Well, probably this one. I don't know if that one they just have to write off for a respawn. Again, that yellow flag having gone down recently means that unit can only spawn main until that flag despawns. And it takes minutes. Alright, but Americans are breaking. Brits have gone breaking. The Brits are only down by 20%. I mean, early on it looked pretty good for the British. It has since then looked far more suspect. But the Brits still have a chance to win this. Now, the way that flag management has actually worked out has not really been great for them, but it's also not been the worst. And they might be able to, if they can, when they eventually go final push, get all their flags. All right, this group has got to run, because you're just going to keep getting whittled down here. You're not going to win this exchange, especially without a flag. But the other side has so many advantages. A flag and more numbers, and that means they're going to throw more lead your way than you're going to throw their way. I think if you only lost 2 guys on that and got the rest of your company out, you're pretty lucky. And that's kind of what I mean. Like, it hasn't gone great for the Brits, but it's also close enough that they can still win this. And let's see, is this a flag unit? Nah, this might be the group that lost their yellow flag. Alright, so the Brits decide they want to go up. Wow, that might have been some terrible timing by the Americans. I don't know if they knew this company was here and just decided not to shoot at them, but just as a bunch of them came out of the berm, they got blasted by these Brits en route. But that also means that this British company now, probably most of the unit doesn't have loads, and so Now, if you're in game and you kind of realize that, and you know your side has loads, and you can put a good volley into them, you could probably delete that unit. Especially since it doesn't have a flag, you know you're pushing it back to spawn at that point. And so the Brits here really just need to be patient, wait for their flags to come back, and then at the end, they're probably going to go final push first. It is what it is. But then keep spawning people on flags, get the Americans down in the last 10, and win that way. Sorry for the nausea-inducing clicking there, but I thought something was going to happen that did not. Yeah, those Americans got to get the running boots on. I mean, I guess it's something that that flag got out. Alright, so this is almost... Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so it looks like the Brits have at least some of their flags back. Maybe all of them except for the yellow one. The big yellow one, sorry. The small yellow orangish one is... that's one of the Hessian flags. Yeah, that didn't go well. I don't know, here in the last few minutes, I don't know if the Brits have dug themselves... I don't think it's too deep of a hole, but I think it's going to now make it very challenging for them to come back. Hopefully your ears enjoyed the rest from me. But whoops, we got our zoom a little wrong there. But yeah, this is a cool map, man. Very cool map. At these ranges, I'm not sure what the Brits are trying to accomplish. I mean, if in fact they actually are slightly better at range, then I get it. But that, it would probably be a bigger problem for the group that's now pulling back. Brits have all 4 flags. I mean, you know, as poorly as a lot of this has gone. All right, it's final push. The Americans have half a morale stage. But remember how quickly the Americans lost half a morale stage earlier in this map. If they repeat that, well, you can probably imagine. But the Brits got to press a little quickly here. I mean, probably the best you're going to hope for is like last stand with, I don't know, 30, 60 seconds. What do we got? 270, and it's 130, basically 135, 136 on both sides, so basically even. Okay. That was a little rough for the Brits. There is a big American sweeper unit on our left now. Well, the Brits got into the cookie jar. I mean, they can't complain about that. Certainly on the top end. Less so on the bottom end. But you can see that big old American group, I guess under Grog, I don't know how it's pronounced, but his group has performed really well. I mean, they performed well when it got a little dicey, and they're performing well here on the back end. Hopefully they're trying to get that British flag down. But the Americans have also lost the flag. Americans are about to go last stand with actually way more time left on the clock than I thought. So what's key for the Americans here, before they go last stand, is that they knock down all the British flags, and then they just stand up. See, the British are smart about this. They have at least 2 back to spawn in. It looks like they're going to lose 2, but get 2 back. I don't know, man. A minute 30, usually, by my own clock, that's that favors the defenders. The fact that the attackers only have 2 out of 4 flags also favors the defenders. We'll see how many Americans have loads here and what they're able to do about this. Yeah, I think shooting and running away actually is the right call for the defenders, because you just kite whoever lives back into hopefully more friendlies who also have shots. And that time, you know, eventually you find a space where you can reload and deal with it. The Americans here might want to think about countercharging those flags away from point somewhat soon, or at least camping the ones that are down if they're going to let this one get up. Oh, it might, I don't know. It might be a little late to get that one done. That means that now the Americans have to deal with 3 flags, but there is only 37 seconds left. A lot of the Brits are still far away from point. They could be on point by the time the round ends. The Americans don't want to lose too much cap weight here, over chasing what's going on the flanks, and then get broken in the middle. But the Americans seem concentrated around the point. The Brits, they seem to be coming in. I mean, it's not really piecemeal, but it's a bit piecemeal.
Take fire, independent fire, down that valley, down that valley.
I think the Americans got this. It looks like they do. Well, I can't say it wasn't interesting. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, and I thought I was going to enjoy it. So I hope you did too, and I hope to have you back for the next one. Take a look at the casualties, and we'll call this a map.
got the bears,